Hey, welcome to the final Three Conservative Gimps show of the year. Welcome everybody. We've got a good show for you tonight, a lot to cover. Plus, we're going to do kind of an ending review, all the hot stuff that happened politically here here in the United States, locally here in Denver, and around the world. All the events that have happened, and also in the last 24 hours, there have been a lot of stuff going on. Lloyd can't make it. He's still out celebrating Christmas, so he will join us next year. Next year, which is next week, where we will start the new year with looking forward to the new administration later on in the month. Charles is going to join us in a little bit. He's got some stuff that he's got to do, and he will join us shortly. So we got a lot to cover. The last few weeks, we had Luigi Mangione, who assassinated the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Thomas somebody. I gotta find out what his name is. We'll pull that up. Oh, Brian Thompson. So we will be talking about the perpetrator. That would be Luigi Mangione, and how the left is portraying this guy as a hero, some kind of hero. I mean, they're good and bad of healthcare. People get denied care and stuff, but that's still no reason to go out and kill or murder. I gotta say, the unliving of the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. I mean, that's just not how you do it. If you don't like the way healthcare is being run, well, elect people that'll fix it. I mean, how we got here is because of Obamacare. And Obamacare was designed this way to make it expensive and unwieldy so that, it will ultimately collapse. And then people will decide, okay, we'll go with health care for all. And we'll end up like Canada and all those European countries where people have to wait months before they get seen by a doctor or a specialist. And if they find out they have cancer, by the time they get treatment, they will have gone from early stage cancer to either stage 3 or stage 4, which really sucks. Here in the United States, this might not be the perfect healthcare, but you know what? It's a lot better than a lot of places around the world. So let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Brian Murphy of Waypoint, New England. He's here. And we got Mason Kaiser. Good to see you, Mason. It's been a while since you've been here. And Joey, he's the first one to be here. So good to see you, Joey. And let's get this going. Yes, and Brian, a waypoint, that poor lady that got burnt to death by that crazy person, I mean, an illegal who snuck into this country, who's been deported, snuck back in, and set this person on fire who was sleeping in their sleep. Well, yeah, they would be sleeping in their sleep. I mean, and this is crazy how the illegals have really messed up this country. I mean, let's call it what it is. They're illegals, they're criminals. They broke the law when they snuck into this country. If they would have done it the right way and gone through the hoops like everybody else and done it the right way, then they wouldn't be illegal. Stop calling them immigrants. They're not immigrants. These are people that have snuck into this country. They've broken the law, and there are a lot of criminals, and we even have terrorists that have snuck in as well. Hello to Ronnie, God bless America, and Dominic is here. Good to see you, Dominic, and happy Boxing Day to you, to all of my friends in the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Happy Boxing Day. And it's also St. Stephen's Day as well. We got Captain Joe America. Good to see you, Joe. USA drone flyer. And welcome to this. I've got Restream. It's cheaper than StreamYards, and so I'm still learning all the bells and whistles. And we had a little issue with it last Friday where I didn't see Don in the background, and we've got Charles waiting in the background. Let's bring him on. And I gotta do it this way and toggle, and there he is. Welcome, Charles. Good to see you. Hello. And I hear you're getting a lot of snow there.
No. When is that supposed? Is it supposed to happen in the future? It's certainly not happening right now.
Well, I have friends in Owego, which is down by the Pennsylvania border, and they've been getting.
They're at least 100 miles away from me, I think.
Right. And how far are you from Albany? Are you?
I'm 45-minute drive northeast of Albany.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so you're quite away from the snow. You're not getting lake effect snow from Ontario and Lake Erie. So yeah. All right. So I was discussing Luigi Mangione, who assassinated the CEO, Brian Thompson of UnitedHealthcare. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the whole thing seems very strange to me.
Yes.
The fact that they have him on camera, the fact that he did all these things that a professional would do, and then got caught up at a McDonald's.
Right.
The fact that we know so much about him so quickly when we didn't about the shooter that hit Trump in the ear. I don't trust any of this nonsense. This something else is going on here, but I don't know what.
Right. And also you got the left that are making this guy, the shooter,
seem like a hero.
Marty, a hero, so to speak. And the person that called in the police up there at the McDonald's, they dox this guy or this person, and they're making this person out to be
Wow.
the bad guy. Yeah, which is hold on.
That's just awful.
Yeah, I know, and it's just so weird how things have gotten to where how divided we are on issues like this. Even with the Daniel Penny, the former what was I think he was a
Marine.
Marine who
Yeah.
saved all those people on that subway. So, unfortunately, he killed that
No, he
homeless.
didn't. No, he didn't.
That's
That guy was still. You can see him when in the chokehold. He is still breathing. It was not an actual air block chokehold or a blood block chokehold. It was just like a restraint hold, and he was breathing when the paramedics got there.
right.
He died afterwards.
Oh, okay. Thanks for
This
the
is very much like the George Floyd thing, where you know he was high on a lot of other stuff.
right.
And most likely that's what killed him, not
Right.
the people that tried to restrain him or deal with him.
Yeah, and they're making Daniel Penny out to be the bad guy, and it's all like the Floyd. Yeah,
The hope
Floyd Rose. No, what's I'm thinking of the
George Floyd.
tremolo of my guitar. Yeah, and just weird how all that happened, and the trial for Daniel Penny, who was. The charges were brought about by Alvin Bragg.
Oh,
Where have I heard that name? Oh, yeah, he's the guy that brought the charges against Donald Trump. And if this would have happened in any other city, this guy wouldn't have been charged for murder. They tried. They said, okay, we got hung jury on the first verdict. And then they came back and the judge told them, yeah, we need a verdict on the second one. It's like, wait a minute, that would be double jeopardy.
well, that's why it's not really. That's why, because you can only double jeopardy only exists with a particular charge. That's
Right.
why they had the two levels of charges, which is again a very unusual thing. It's like they knew that they couldn't get him on one thing, so it's like, okay, this is a stretch. So if we can't get him on this, maybe we can get him on this.
Right. And he was acquitted on the second one, which was good. So
Yeah.
And Ronnie said Nancy Pelosi called him George Kirby. Oh, interesting.
Who's George Kirby? Well, was that an old comedian? Yeah.
Yeah. So we got that going on. And in the last 24 hours, we had a jet that crashed at Aktu in Azerbaijan. And it turns out that plane was brought down by a missile, because you could see the damage on the left-hand side of the plane. There are penetration or shrapnel marks on the side, and you can see inside the cabin you can see where shrapnel did go through the cabin, and the oxygen mask deployed. And I just watched Ryan Macbeth's explanation on this, and the plane was originally going to Grozny, and it was supposed to land at this one airport, and he theorized that the plane was coming from the west, and that's how the shrapnel happened, because he hypothesized that the battery would have been on the north side of the airport, up in the hills, to prevent any of this, because they thought there was an attack by Ukrainian drones. So there was another airport they could have gone to, but it turned out it had snow conditions and it was in a somewhat mountainous area. So they had to fly across the Caspian Sea to this other airport. And evidently that the shrapnel, when the missile exploded, caused it to sever all the hydraulics. And that's why, if you saw the video, you saw the plane kind of porpoising as it was coming down the land, because they were the only way they could steer the aircraft is through the engines, by throttling up and down on the two engines, just like that jet that crashed in Sioux City, Iowa. And and unfortunately, the only people that survived were the people that were in the aft or back section of the plane, which would be near the tail, for those of you who don't know what those terms are. So that's what's happened in the last 24 hours. And what else has happened? We could talk about, the year in review. So,
since this is the last show of the year, sure.
Yeah. Let's see. What did we have? We had, Trump decided that he was going to run again. That'd be earlier in the year. And he swept the primaries in just about all the states. And there were several states, including Colorado, that were trying to prevent him from being on the ballot. And then the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. You could do that for state elections, but this a federal election, you can't do that. So he was on the ballot, easily won. Almost all. I think he won all, or almost all the primaries on the Republican side. Everyone assumed that Joe Biden was going to be, running again. He said he was going to run again. And, excuse me. So right up until July, when they finally had a debate. And then while this is all going on, there have been, you could kind of tell something wasn't quite right with Biden. He had problems going upstairs and falling off bikes. That was early in his tenure, or in his term. And sort of mumbling when he gave speeches. He couldn't remember the person's name or mispronounced it. So then the debate comes. And that's when the wheels fell off the Biden campaign. And he hung in, and then 100 days till the election, they decided to throw him under the bus. They had a little talking to Joe and say, hey, the numbers are not looking good, and we think Kamala should be the candidate. And from what I heard, and several other people have talked about that this was going to be an open primary. They were going to go in the primary and choose candidate. That didn't happen. She was basically anointed as the candidate. And so off to the races. Everybody, the money was being raised on both sides. Kamala was raising a crap ton of money.
Yes.
And then they had their debate.
Like as much as Trump raised, didn't he raise like almost $500 million in one day?
Yes. Yes.
But she, ran right past him and spent right past him. Apparently, spent $1 billion on her campaign.
Right.
With 3 times as much or twice as much advertising.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
and also we gotta remember he was shot at in Pennsylvania, wounded, and then his numbers just skyrocketed after that, and that's where the funding came in, where he raised a ton of money after that. And then there was a debate, and then there was another attempt on his life at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, right near the golf course. And so Kamala had all of these celebrities all saying, we need to elect her because, if he gets elected, that'll be the end of democracy. And calling him Hitler at every turn. And it's like, gee, you think that might have had something to do with the assassination attempts? I don't know. Could be. Yep. And then we got down to the stretch, and then on election day, Trump carried all the swing states, and not only did he do that, he got the popular vote as well. So with that win, he won something like 320 electoral votes.
That's huge.
And the popular vote, so that gave him a mandate. But on the other hand, we gained some seats in the Senate, which is good. But the Republicans lost a few seats in the House, but still retained a slight edge in the House.
Yeah.
And then Trump's, right after the election, shortly after that, he started naming people to his cabinet, where he nominated Matt Gaetz, congressman out of Florida, who was under investigation for what was it? Human trafficking, or
no, I think it wasn't harassment or something.
Yeah,
it wasn't human trafficking.
Yeah, he paid for sex basically, and so he was the nominee, and they resigned from Congress, and then they said, okay, we're not going to release the findings. So things went along, and then a few days later, he decided he wasn't going to be the nominee. He dropped out. So he dropped out, and who'd they pick? Pam Bondi, Attorney General out of Florida, who would be awesome as Attorney General. And then he picked Pete Hegseth, the contributor at Fox and weekend anchor. And that set off some allegations of sexual assault, and that's starting to die down now, because It's looking a lot like what happened to Judge Kavanaugh when he went through his confirmation. And that woman also got an NDA, just like Trump did with Stormy Daniels. And they started picking some really great people, like Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota. Let's see Oh, Tab. Tulsi Gabbard picked her, and what did she get? An NSA, some kind of high ranking.
Yeah, I don't remember what.
It's one of those.
Let me see if I can find it really quick.
All right.
One thing's for sure, this is going to be the most attractive government that we've had in a long time.
Yes. And we'll know what sex they are too.
Yes.
No ambiguity there. Yeah. No purple hair, no bald heads with lipstick on.
Yeah, no kleptomaniacs.
Kleptomaniacs. And yeah.
Okay. It's just what's called the National Intelligence Director.
Okay.
I mean, she's not heading the CIA.
No.
Because then aren't they giving that to Kash Patel?
No, he's FBI.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. And then there's RFK Jr. He's been nominated to head Human Health Services. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And there've been rumblings in the Food and Drug Administration and other, administrations underneath that say, if he's confirmed, we're resigning. Which, hey, that might be a good thing. And
it would be.
A couple guys have been nominated to head a new department called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which will be headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, which and if those people resign, hey, that's going to save a lot of money in the government. And who else? I mean, there've been a ton of people that have been nominated that they're all solid. Oh, and then we got Tom Hobson or he's going to be head of ICE. The borders are.
Yeah. Big guy. Really, strong presence.
Right. And then there are these dumbass governors. Oregon decided, well, we're going to thwart ICE and we're going to protect these people. And it's like, you know what? You're asking for trouble if you're going to go against the feds because Holman. That's right, Brian. That's right. And even our mayor of Denver say he was going to try to prevent ICE from deporting these people. But since then, he's kind of changed his tune. And I believe Gavin Newsom is talking about not cooperating with ICE. And, it's not like the priority there is they're going after the criminal. They're all criminals, but they're prioritizing it by the most serious, like murderers, rapists, drug dealers, and pedophiles. And they're going after those people. And those are the ones that are going to be caught up and returned to their country. So, in the meantime, what's going on is Joe Biden decided, oh, you know what? All of this material that was going to be used for the fence, we're going to auction that off. So he's been secretly taking some of that material away from the border and selling it off. So, but fortunately, I guess Texas and Arizona, yeah, I think at least Texas has halted the removal of those materials, and we'll finally get that border fence put up, and we'll have a tighter control over our southern border. So that's what's going on there. And also, what's going on is we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Joe Biden pardons his son not only for the gun charge and tax evasion, but for any other crimes he may have committed since 2014. So, and it didn't stop there. So now he's decided, oh, I'm going to grant pardons and clemency to, oh, I don't know, murderers and pedophiles. And it's like, wow, that's crazy.
I wonder. I mean, are we talking just sort of like street level criminals, or are we talking, government officials who are really, really bad?
Oh, you know what? A good point. He has pardoned some judges that have been in prison for using child labor in prison. These are young criminal defendants that were used for pay to play, or prisoners to these work for the state or for the government, and then these judges got kickbacks from. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the closing few days in January. What's Biden going to do next? So
yeah.
So have I missed any other highlights?
Well, nothing, no real highlights, just maybe a little bit of the snark that went along with Kamala Harris's campaign, a little thing called cacklementum.
Yeah.
And, the cacklenomics, which is what she proposed for her economic plan.
Right. Give everybody, what was that, $25K to buy a house. Where's that money
going?
Yeah,
but that wasn't really a gift, didn't they? Wasn't it going to be like attached to the loan or something? So eventually you'd have to pay it back.
Oh yeah, it might be something like that. That's a good point. It's federal crimes. Yeah. These were prisoners that were on death row. That like the marathon bomber. I think he commuted that guy's sentence to life in prison. Yeah. What else? Yeah, she was talking about, I'm going to lower the price of groceries. We're going to go after those stores that gouge the people. And it's like, well, a lot of that cost is from power.
Yeah.
And the reason the powers got expensive is because they did some things to made us more dependent on foreign oil instead of trying to get our own oil by canceling the Keystone Pipeline and putting regulations that were so onerous on the leases. The oil companies were buying a lot of leases, but they weren't doing anything because it wasn't profitable to drill because of the regulations put on them to extract oil from those leases. So Trump will come along. He's going to remove a lot of the regulations, and
when they would actually give them the leases, that was the other problem. Is that, like, right up front, the oil companies were asking for leases, and the federal government was, oh God, I can't remember, but they got them caught in some sort of a loop where the federal government was requiring something from the oil companies that the federal government had to give them in order to be able to get the lease.
Right.
Or
yeah.
or wait a minute. Maybe this was it. The federal government was saying you've got to submit more leases, but then making it more difficult to submit the lease or something like that. I know that the Energy Department was jerking them around big time.
Right. And so with the Department of Government Efficiency, I think and that was the other thing I almost forgot about, the continuing resolution. The government was, I think, supposed to shut down this weekend, or was it last weekend? I think it was last weekend.
I think it was last weekend, but that was not a continuing resolution. That was a mini omnibus.
Right. And that bill was 1,500 pages, and a lot of garbage was in it. And Musk said, hey, don't pass this. And Trump said, yeah, that's a good idea. Don't pass this. And they were able to get that bill killed. And they
reduced down to 115 pages or something like that.
And there was that crazy purple hair congresswoman out of Connecticut saying, oh, you guys voted against cancer treatment for children. Well, you know what? I found out earlier today that bill was actually passed in the House back in March, and it wasn't brought to the floor in the Senate. So they decided to sneak it in to this bill so they could add kind of what we would call a poison pill to so to speak. So they could say, if this doesn't pass it, oh, they were against cancer research for children. Oh my. So and that was the other crazy thing going on. So
the whole year was crazy.
Oh yeah, it really was.
It just seems like the crazy is ramping up as we go into 2025.
Right. And I'm here. I am. I'm almost 65 years old, and I've seen a lot. And every time I say, "Wow, this election cycle has been so weird," then the next one is even weirder. Even more divisive. I thought that the Clinton Bush campaign back in '92, I thought, oh shit, that was bad, and it just got progressively weirder and weirder, and with Al Gore and George W. Bush, and then you got Obama and McCain. That was I was actually considering voting for a third party because I could not stand John McCain. He was a horrible senator out of Arizona, and the only thing that brought me back was Sarah Palin. I thought, oh, finally they're going to be actually conservative, and then he lost. And here's the thing, McCain was ahead in the polls. And then after the debate, that first debate where he did great. And then that second debate, he just did poorly. And that's when I felt like, oh, I don't think he wants to win. Because I think in his mind, he didn't want to be the white candidate that defeats a black candidate for president because that was an historical election. And I think the same thing happened with Romney. Romney did the same thing. It looked like because but the economy was doing so badly that I thought, oh, okay, I think Romney could pull it out, and then he did the same thing. He just sort of he said, I'm severely conservative. What's with all these qualifiers in? I'm conservative. I'm severely conservative. I'm really, 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 really conservative. I mean, I don't get it. Either you are or you aren't, you know?
Yeah.
Because both of those candidates weren't really conservative. They were, moderate Republicans. They were going to their right to try to get the base. And then when they won the primary, and then they started going left, and then that pissed off the base, and the base just said, that's screw it, you know? And then Trump came along, and it's like, holy crap, that came out of nowhere. I didn't even think he was going to win the primary because here in Colorado, I actually went to the state assembly for the primary, and I voted for Ted Cruz. I thought, he was a better. I didn't think Trump was really a serious candidate. He never ran for office, and then he won the nomination, and nobody thought he was going to beat Hillary. And the polling showed, no, Hillary's way ahead. But Hillary was so unlikable, because she wasn't like her husband, Slick Willie, because Bill Clinton had a way to, come across as reasonable without being bombastic like Hillary. Hillary was just not a likable person.
No.
So Trump came in, really had no idea, who to pick. He was listening to too many bad, got a lot of bad advice, picked a lot of really terrible people, like Jeff Sessions, who should have just, quashed that whole Russia thing. And he didn't. And then Pompeo came in, took over that spot. And then we had some good things happening. And then he picked Tillerson for Secretary of State. The guy is head of Texaco. What the hell does he know about? So that was another bad choice. So I think with Trump losing, and I think he learned a lot from that first. And he also had the pandemic that really hurt him. You know, he got a lot of really bad advice on that. And he came off as uncaring and crass. And you know what I've noticed lately is he's not as bombastic as he was.
Yeah, he's being a lot more humble now.
Yes. And I think a lot of it had to do with the attempted assassination. And he learned a lot from that first term. And watching Joe Biden just kind of come in and just screw things up. And then now we're finding out there was a report that came out that people started noticing a decline about a month into his term. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, this guy was a basket case going in. I mean, where Woodrow Wilson had his stroke, I guess, when was it? Was it halfway through his second term?
I'm not sure.
I think so. And basically, his wife was running the show, just like Jill was running the show for Joe Biden. And, you know, we saw it, you know, we fell off the bike and falling down the
Falling up the stairs.
up the
Yeah.
stairs. And then he tripped at the Air Force Academy graduation. And just all kind. Then you hear what
Embarrassing moments, and he had embarrassing moments at state dinners at other countries.
Right, and the latest one was instead going to Notre Dame, not the football team, but the cathedral in Paris, and his wife was there, but instead of going there, he went to Africa, where he fell asleep, mind you. And it's like, man, just to watch all this, and I'm like going, how our enemies, I mean, China could have just said, screw it, we're going to invade Taiwan right now. But I think part of the reason why nothing really dramatic happened is I think a lot of our enemies, they weren't really, they're also like, what the hell is going on? Should we do something? Oh, and then we had the attack in Israel by Hamas, and that started that whole war that's lasted a little over a year. And Israel finally got their cojones and decided, you know what? We're tired of this shit. So, you know, we're going to do what it takes to eliminate these threats and do it in a way to where, because everybody knows all the weapons are coming from Iran. Iran is sending them tons of money and buying weapons. And so Israel's doing the smart thing. They're surgically striking at targets to where they're only killing off the Hamas soldiers and the heads of Hamas. They even went outside the country, and where they killed a bunch of Hamas guys out in Iran and several other places.
Yeah. Didn't they do that with the exploding pagers?
Yes, that's right. Where they eliminated a lot of high and mid-level leaders in Hezbollah and Hamas. I think it was mostly Hezbollah. And every time there was a new leader of Hezbollah, that guy was killed. And then after Trump won, then all of a sudden Hamas is like going, you know what? I think it might be time we might have to negotiate, stop this craziness. And I think a lot of those guys, they decide, you know what? We don't want to be martyrs anymore because that's too easy. So Iran, and then Israel did some strategic uh, bombings in Iran. And what they do, they knocked out all their radar and mobile missile capabilities. So basically, Iran is wide open right now. They are open for an invasion from, Saudi Arabia could easily go into Iran. And
Yeah, but would they? Would they?
I don't think so, because they know that it would cost a lot of money to do that, and it would be a long and protracted war, and they don't see the upside in doing that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't personally see the upside in doing it either.
yeah, and also they picked a good time because Iran's not getting any more weapons, unless they're getting them from China, because Russia is not sending arms because they're kind of busy with their little thing with Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so I've been following Ryan Macbeth, and he doesn't see Russia wanting a truce with Ukraine because now their economy is based upon wartime economy. Because if they have a truce or an armistice, then they're going to have all of these people that are not making weapons anymore. They're going to be unemployed, and that is not going to be good for Putin. So,
Well, I'm just really I think this whole thing is very telling about Russia's military. I don't think they're nearly as powerful as we've been led to believe.
right.
Because if they were, they would have just rolled right into the Ukraine, would have been over in a week.
Right.
And now this is going on, what, at least a year?
Oh,
close to a year? Or longer than that?
More like 2 years now.
Yeah. So
And,
I think, I don't think Russia's as big an issue as we've always been led to believe.
And, Putin's talking about nuclear weapons. Now we're finding out their nuclear weapons are probably not that reliable because, you can't, with nuclear weapons, you can't just, can't be just put up on a shelf to be used later. It's
Yeah, they
kind
got
of
to be
like,
maintained.
they have to be maintained. It's kind of like storing milk. Milk, it'll go bad over time because
I'm seeing something in my head, sort of like something out of Looney Tunes or kind of thing, where two Russians at a missile base, and one goes, "Igor, hit the button, launch missile." The other guy hits the button, and the missile sort of goes up and then turns around and comes right back into the
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of smoke, a lot of curly hairs and carbon on the faces.
Right. And you also have, there's maintenance that has to be done on those, those facilities and missile bases and fighter aircraft. They're probably running out of aircraft to fly. That's why they're not. Yeah. I mean, if they were as powerful as we thought they were, they would just flown their bear bombers over Kiev and just bombed the crap out. No, they don't want to do that because that puts wear and tear on those, and they're expensive to fly, and that puts a lot of wear and tear on those aircraft, and that's why they're not flying a lot of sorties into Kiev or into Ukraine and bombing the crap out. And they have to go to North Korea and say, hey, Kim, could you loan us or send us a few thousand North Korean soldiers to help us out? And it's like, what? Because they're running out of soldiers. As big a country as they are, they do have the vast resource. But the problem is, I think the Russian people are even starting to get tired of this war.
Yeah.
And Putin's walking a fine line or walking on a razor's edge where, oh yeah, don't forget to get your Mega Millions ticket because it's up to $1.15 billion. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Oh, for Friday. Ooh, I might have to go get a ticket or two. Yeah. And yeah, so he's got to worry about the public. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Russia in the next couple years because it might not might not be pretty for Putin. He might not survive, and he's already had one coup attempt, and there could be another. Yeah. And there's also concern about Taiwan. And Ryan Bethy's under the assumption that China is going to invade Taiwan sometime in the early spring of 27. And the problem is with that is with Trump being in office, he's not going to let that happen. And another thing I've learned about the use of nuclear weapons, it's not to bomb big cities. Like we had this, back in the 60s, they had these H bombs they could drop on cities and wipe out cities. No, what they'll use low yield tactical nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
They will be used when the Chinese try to come ashore on Taiwan. Is they will use low yield nuclear weapons to stop the landings, and that'll stop it because they'll just kill so many people right then and there. But the problem is, then you got fallout, which is going to go where? Oh, over the island. Yeah. So it'll probably happen somewhere in the Straits of Taiwan when you see the mass of ships heading towards or planes coming in. That and it's not going to be weapons coming from Taiwan. The Philippines, they're going to be involved. Japan and South Korea, yeah, I just don't see it happening. So that's what's going on, and that's our year in review. And I want to thank all the fine folks that came in to watch. Hope you all have a great end of the year and have a happy new year. Yep. And hope you all had a great Christmas. Take care. God bless and see you next week. Good night, folks.